Hey, this is Steve from the Falafel House Fantasy Football Podcast, and you are listening to the BS Podcast Network.
In a world of ordinary fantasy football podcasts, ordinary guys rise up to bring you extraordinary analysis and entertainment. This is the FLAFFL House Fantasy Football Podcast with your hosts Kevin Cotillo, Sal Lito, and Stephen Marcus.
Buy low, sell high, I know. Well, why? You reap what you sow when you keep what you owe. You get what you pay for. And if you bet, then you stay poor. Probably. I won Jiggy Jiggy Zippos, playing Hungry Hungry Hippos with fugly ugly strippos. Gambling is great, I've been fortunate. I got a rambling estate with a porch in it. Or more like around it in the form of a horseshoe. I got pickleball, badminton, and tennis courts too. I got day-old locks in my mailbox, FedEx and dry ice. Even my life lead a fly nice lifestyle.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Today is Wednesday, February 22nd, and this is the Falafel House Fantasy Football Podcast. I am your host, Kevin Cotillo, and I have with me, of course, Steve Marcus. What's going on, Steve?
Oh, not much. How's it going?
It's pretty good.
February. End of February already.
Yeah,
crazy.
It is the end of February.
2017's almost over already.
I don't know about that. You're jumping the gun a little bit on me here. But it is
close.
nice to get back into a little bit of a flow here. This is our second time. 1 week this time in between episodes. That was good. I think that was better.
Yeah, definitely. I like going weekly as opposed to the bi-weekly. It seems like so much goes on. Even just doing 1 week, it seems like so much happens in between shows that the news is constantly flowing. It just goes too quick.
Yeah, the NFL, they say the NFL never stops, and it really doesn't. Luckily for us, we get to welcome back our new co-host again this week for his second episode. What's up, Scott?
What's going on, falafel people? Isn't that what Sal used to do? What's going on, falafel?
Yeah, it was either that or like a good morning falafel with the good morning Vietnam type thing. I don't know. He did a lot of things. If you could start singing, I think it would probably be more Sal like. Although you just
trust me, nobody wants that.
I think we just broke the hearts of a lot of people who thought this was a joke, though.
No, I think people are actually happy. I think there's at least 3 people that are happy about this.
I saw a lot of people saying in chats that were associated with Sal that said, it can't be. But I got a lot of emails that are just like, it's unfortunate that he's gone, but I think a change had to be made. I think that it's important that you got someone of Scott's stature in there, and so I think everyone is pleased with the changes that we have made.
Yeah. That's
now,
true.
by stature, do you mean 6'3"? How tall is Sal?
He is not 6'3".
Not 6'3", guaranteed.
Yeah, no,
so it's
definitely
a height
not.
Thing.
It's definitely a height thing. It's a knowledge thing. It's just all around. I think just we upgraded everywhere. Yeah, I got a lot of people that asked me if we were joking, and then when I told them we were not, they were like, "Oh, is Sal okay?" Look, everyone, I promise you, Sal is okay.
Relatively.
Well, he's as okay as he was when he was on the podcast. That's for sure. So there's no question about that. All right. So, but we do have Scott, and we are excited to have him going forward. So, what are we gonna? We're gonna get into one thing I want to talk about, Scott, because you're kind of plugged into this. Before we get into anything else tonight, a lot of talk this week and last week about the My Fantasy League site and the upgrades that they've been doing. Obviously,
what do you mean? Perfect. No speed bumps.
Yeah, no speed bumps, nothing at all. For those of us waiting for auctions, it looks like they'll be happening any minute now, right?
Yeah. I feel like any year now they should happen.
So you're more plugged in because you've been with MFL for a long time as far as your leagues. So this happened last year. And for those people who were newer this year and thought it was actually going to be a couple of days, they were rudely surprised. But it seems like they've had some issues with this upgrade. But from not to get too technical on us, but what kind of stuff do you think they've done that made it so challenging? And do you like what you see so far?
Well, I like what I see so far. I like the mobile site. I don't know that I should speak too much on what I think they're doing because I could be very wrong. But
That's fair.
I really feel like each year, these last 2 years especially, before this, they used to go up and down for 2 days. They had it down, but these changes they've done the last 2 years have been so extensive that I feel like they just need to tell people we're going to be down for a week. And maybe if they get it done early, everybody's happy. You know?
Yeah.
I feel like if they had told everybody we're going to be down for a week, they popped back up in 3 days. 3.5 days. Everyone would have been pretty ecstatic. And sure, auctions aren't up yet, but I think the majority probably would have been happy if they were sitting in a weak diagnosis.
Yeah.
So that should be their plan next year.
Seems to be the feedback on Twitter. You see all the people like, hey, just don't give us a timeline. Just say we're going to be down, and then when you pop back up, we'll be excited. So I agree with you there. But it does look nice. I like the new layout, even on the desktop platform. It seems like a nice, clean. It looks a little cleaner to me, and I like what they've done so far.
Yeah, I really like it. I know that people are missing the sidebars. There's some fixes for that, but overall, I think people will just get used to it. It's so much nicer than it was.
Yeah, the mobile site's definitely a lot better. I think it's a lot more intuitive and just easier to read. So.
Yeah, definitely.
And they do great work over there. We love their sites for everything. So keep up the good work for them if they actually should listen to this at some point. And get those auctions up so we can start hating each other in pigs too. That's going to be key.
I can't wait to get that started. That's going to be crazy. But we talked about that a lot last week.
Yeah, we did. All right, so what are we going to talk about tonight, though? We're going to talk about trying to get into a little bit of what people should be doing right now. Obviously, this time of year is mostly Dynasty focused, although even if you're playing in regular leagues, you should probably be paying attention. But if you're in Dynasty, there are some moves you could be making. There are some things you could be doing. So we'll talk about that a little bit. We're going to talk about MFL 10s and MFL 25s because they are supposed to be coming up soon. I think they might actually be up, but I'm not sure if they're fully functional yet. I know we're doing.
I don't think they are. I think I heard maybe Monday.
Monday, yeah. I know we're doing some best ball things for the.
Hey! I got an idea. You want to know what you should talk about tonight? Let's talk about the idea that you guys have gone behind my back and replaced me.
What? Hello?
Yeah, that's right. You've been out there lying to people, telling them that I left the show. And I tried to check it with you guys this week, and you're like, yeah, maybe we'll record Thursday. And I happened to get an alert on my Skype that you guys are online. I'm like, what the hell's going on? So I'm very technically advanced, so I managed to get into this Skype call, and I see that not only did you take my good friend Steven tournament against me, Kevin, but Scott Fish, everybody's Mr. Wonderful, Scott Fish, who's supposed to be one of these nice guys. I don't know if he's just pretending to do all this nice stuff, buying toys for kids and all that stuff. But he comes on my show and tries to replace me. What the hell is going on?
Hey, Sal, did you listen last week? We kind of went through all this.
I was away in New Orleans. Figured, hey, my guys are back. Back home taking care of things. I was very busy. I didn't listen. I'm getting messages from people. Hey, hope everything's okay. My best wishes are with you. Hey, are you leaving the show? And I'm like, it must be. I don't know what's going on here. It must be a joke. I'll get on the show this week. Everything will be fine. And sure enough, I get on it. What the hell is this?
Steve, didn't he say he was moving to New Orleans? I thought this was all, I thought he was done, right?
I was grooving.
I think we were just hoping that he was moving to New Orleans, and I thought you promised us that you were locking these Skype calls from now on.
Steve Marcus, my friend, a guy who I've been at it with since the beginning, a guy who we've talked about Kevin behind his back with.
Well, that's concerning.
But you know what? You guys have done really bad stuff to me tonight. So. I'm not leaving. I'm staying. I'm here. I'm staying for the rest of the show, whether you like it or not. And we'll figure out next week who's back. Me and Scott.
You're just going to stick around? It's going to be really awkward now.
I'll just have to figure out what the agenda is because you didn't bother sending me that either.
Hey, Scott. It looks like
that was
Sal's
a pretty
back.
good impression by me, right? I sounded exactly like Sal. That's what Sal would have sounded like had he jumped in. I thought that was pretty good.
Yeah, you did pretty. That's amazing. So you know what? Maybe we'll just go through the rest of the episode, and we'll just let the people decide.
Did you guys just hear my door close down here?
Oh yeah, is that the
Close
ghost?
that.
Is that
The ghost.
Obviously.
You heard
Scott,
that, right?
You may
Ghost
think
wanna
that's a
jump
ghost.
on the pod?
No, you may think that's a ghost, but I sent somebody to take care of you, buddy. You want to replace me on a podcast? You'll never see the light of day again.
Yeah, horsehead situation coming up
Oh,
here.
boy. All right. Well, I guess welcome back, Sal. We're gonna.
Hello, FLAFFL. That's
You
how
are
you
not
do it,
kidding.
Scott.
You are not getting your bathroom or your slippers back.
No, you can have those. They've been tainted.
Oh man! All right, so welcome back, Sal. At least for now, we'll figure out what we're doing going forward. But it was nice. It was nice not having you last week, and it was a good dream to think you weren't going to be around. But we do have some stuff to get into. So here's a question for you. We're going to start off by, like we said, Sal, for you catching up here. We're going to talk about some of the things that we should be doing in the off season. Sal, obviously, for regular leagues, you're probably just paying attention to free agency coming up. But for dynasties, there's some moves you can make. One of the things I want to ask you about, the buy low guys right now, because that's something you can absolutely be doing with your dynasty roster. You should be checking out your roster. You should be figuring out maybe guys you can cut, maybe guys you've had on your bench, maybe guys you don't need on your roster anymore, and then find some targets for guys that you think might be buy low candidates, and maybe they're free agents that haven't moved yet, or maybe they're guys that you just think are going to break out this year that might be sleepers. Those kind of things. Those are the guys you want to start sending some offers out. Am I right, Scott?
Yep, definitely a good time to get some trades in while you're waiting for drafts to start.
Absolutely. All right, so Scott, with that in mind, we'll start with you. Are there any guys that you're looking at right now that are buy low candidates for you? Guys that you think might be a good option for people to start taking a look at and see if they can float some cheap offers at?
What if I told you there was a guy last year that had nearly 70 catches, over 1,000 yards, and 5 touchdowns with absolutely horrible quarterback play, and we don't even know where he's going to play next year? He might play for a team with a good quarterback and a good offense. I mean, a guy that's probably, one of the best wide receivers ever. Wouldn't you want that guy?
I would say, yeah, I probably want that guy.
I'm interested.
Yeah,
I'm definitely intrigued.
That's everything that's true about Kenny Britt. I mean,
oh man! Somehow I knew that's where we were heading.
Great.
Yes. Oh man! So where's he gonna go? Where is the Kenny Britt market taking us, Scott?
I don't know. I really don't know. I mean, he could. There's so many landing spots for a wide receiver of that top-notch caliber. But I feel like Kenny Britt is going to be one of those first-day signings of free agency too. I think he's going to be, one of the big headlines. Someone's going to make a move. He's going to be bigger than the Sanu and Marvin Jones landings of last year. I feel like he's probably going to be one of the more highly coveted wide receivers and land in a really nice spot. I want to get my hands on him right now.
So you're a general manager. You're a general manager in the NFL. You're a general manager in the NFL, Scott, and you need a wide receiver. And you're looking at Alshon Jeffrey, Kenny Stills, DeSean Jackson, and Kenny Britt. You're just going Kenny Britt all in.
Best ever. Yep, he's the best ever. Yeah, I mean, if Julio Jones was on the free agent market, you might have to flip a coin.
Yeah.
But for FLAFFLers, this is an inside joke. I use Kenny Britt whenever I make an example. When I'm talking, I use Kenny Britt. I do think he is a decent buy low because of all those other potential free agent wide receivers. I don't think anybody's talking about Kenny Britt really, but I think he's got potential. And you can get him basically free. But in all seriousness,
yeah, absolutely. Sal, you were saying San Francisco.
Yeah, it's the type of thing San Francisco to go out and do. Spend money on a guy like Kenny Britt coming off of that season, and he'll end
Shanahan.
He'll end up pretty much just like every other guy that San Francisco signs lately.
I don't know. Kyle Shanahan, wide receiver one's a awesome.
I'm excited, Scott, to
Just
see what
hope
goes
it's Britt
on.
and not Torrey Smith, though.
I'm excited to see what goes on with Carlos Hyde over there. But Kevin, you brought up a wide receiver I was thinking about. He doesn't have a lot of life left in his career, but DeSean Jackson's been rumored to possibly go back to Philadelphia. I think that could be an interesting, remarriage, so to speak. And I think that if he goes back there, there's obviously a need for wide receiver, and he's going to want to go back there and prove that he never should have been let go and never been chased away, basically, by the last regime. And I'm not a guy I've ever really liked, but I think he could do big things there this year.
I've never liked him either, but I saw Jameis Winston wants him in Tampa Bay, too.
I did hear that as well. That was the next place I heard, so he's going to definitely be moving somewhere. And, yeah, I think if he does go to Tampa, Scott, paired with Evans, he could, playing opposite him, he could really do big things there as well. I expect him to come back and be a low-end wide receiver, too, this year, just because the total number of receptions is never there for him.
I agree. He could have wide receiver 1, wide receiver 2 numbers for 4 games. What about the other 12 games when he disappears?
My problem with DeSean Jackson is the guys that have him love him for whatever reason. He's on their roster because they really like him, and I feel like his value is always higher than you want it to be for a guy you're trying to get. I agree with you though. I think that the fit particularly in Tampa Bay, I'd much rather see him in Tampa Bay than Philadelphia, but I agree with you. That's a great fit, but I don't know. I feel like I've had trouble in the past trying to get him for cheap, even when he's not performing.
Yeah. Yep. That does seem to happen. Guys like that you think you're going to be able to buy for free, they're actually on the team that wants them. So, yeah, that happens.
So, Steve, who are you looking at as far as a buy low guy? Any guys that jumping out at you?
I think somebody that might be jumping out a little bit, someone who might be forgotten because he got injured early on in the year, and that would be Danny Woodhead. He's going to be a free agent this year, and he could, he might not be staying on the Chargers. He's getting up there a little bit in age. He's 32, but something with him is that he's never really been the main running back on a team, and so I don't think he's going to have the wear and tear as a full-time 3-down running back might actually have. Of course, we know of all of his PPR value that he carries, and but he does have a bit of an injury history as well. So, but I think he's somebody that could be very interesting, and because he was injured this year, I think that people might be a little down on him with the recency bias, and so I think it'd be interesting to see where he might end up, somewhere that you might think of as either that just kind of popped into my head, someone that might be looking for a running back is Green Bay. They don't think that they're going to be holding on to Eddie Lacy, and James Starks, I believe, has already been let go, so they don't have a running back. They're going to have to either draft someone or pick someone up in free agency, and Danny Woodhead might be the kind of check down back that might end up working out there. So he's somebody that I'm looking at.
Ty Montgomery, you son of a my man, Ty Montgomery.
Ty Montgomery. He seems to disappear just as much as DeSean Jackson does. So I don't know if I'm going to be holding on hope for him to be the full-time running back there next season.
Just so you know, Kevin, Ty Montgomery is on my protected list in the Power Hungry League.
Oh, good. That's good. That's good to know.
That was a good waste.
That was a good waste.
Well, Scott, we actually have to protect 18 guys in the dispersal draft.
Yeah.
Dispersal auction, and I listed 10 guys today, and 2 of them were actually superpowers, and I looked at the rest of the guys like, why are you still here? And I had to protect 8 more. so I did.
I will say Montgomery. He's got a ceiling. He's got some upside. It could pan out. I'm not a true believer, but it could pan out, and he could give you some good weeks. So,
the good news is I left Michael Floyd unprotected for Kevin.
That's great. I will jump right on him. That's awesome. All right, here's one I wanted to ask you about, Scott, and we'll get into some of the quarterbacks a little bit here because obviously there's some quarterbacks that are going to be on the free agent market this year, whether it's or trade if you want to include the Garoppolos, but Tony Romo should be either cut or traded. Jay Cutler's going to be available, most likely. Tyrod Taylor, Colin Kaepernick. And then the guy I want to ask you about, Scott, is Mike Glennon, obviously. A lot of discussion in the Pigs 1 league about this because I bought Mike Glennon off of you. And, look, I took over a roster that was suspect at best. Had some good pieces, has some some upside to it and a lot of cash. So I had some extra cash to burn. And Glennon's a guy that, look, I think he's going to get a starting job. That's one of the reasons I went after him.
I do too.
So for me, it made sense. Why in a 2-quarterback 14-team league 28-team league, I guess, with 2 copies, right? It makes sense to have a guy that could potentially be a starting quarterback.
Where do you think he's going to end up? Where do you think he's going to be getting the starting job?
I mean, I think the Jets make the most sense in my mind.
There you go, Kevin. I agree with you.
I mean, that's where I see him going. I think that they need him. That he'll be a little bit on the cheaper side. It still gives them the opportunity to work in. I'm blanking on his name now. Certainly not Hackenberg, the other one.
Petty.
Yeah, Petty. And
Geno Smith.
Not Geno Smith. If they need to, they can probably have them, compete in camp. And
it's
see
weird
which
that
one's
if
better.
you combine the best features of all those quarterbacks, you still don't probably have an NFL starting quarterback.
It's true. It's true. So what was your reasoning for selling him to me? You made the offer. Tell me a little bit about your thoughts on Glennon. Your stacked at quarterback is assuming why you were willing.
Yeah, that's exactly why. I typed in $100 and I deleted it and put $125 in the offer because at $100 I thought to myself, his price is only going to go up when he lands somewhere because I, like you, think that he's going to land somewhere. And in a super flex, that's just a commodity you want to have, any kind of starting quarterback. I traded him purely because he would never, ever start for me unless there were just a rash of serious injuries.
Yeah, to be clear,
So-
you have who? You have Andrew Luck?
Russell Wilson,
Russell.
Cam Newton, and Derek Carr.
Yeah, so he's not getting on your active roster in a million years.
No, and I got Tom Brady's replacement next year, Jacoby Brissett, too. So
Next year.
I'm just kidding.
Speaking of
Brady's going to play till 45.
Yeah, I actually believe that based on how he keeps care of himself. But speaking of Brady, though, his current backup Garoppolo is a guy that should be on the market. We've talked about him a little bit on this podcast. He's another guy I bought. Steve, I'll ask you, what are your thoughts on Garoppolo? Where do you think the best landing spot for him is, and where do you think he'll actually land? And is he a fantasy asset that you might be trying to buy low on?
I don't know if I'd be trying to buy low on him right now because I'm not sure what he's going to end up doing. Part of me thinks that the Tampa Bay, New England's going to want to hold on to him, and just in case something does happen to Brady, because he is getting a little up there in age. So I know he doesn't take a lot of hits, but it only takes one to put you on your back. And I don't know if Jacoby Brissett is ready. I don't know if Bill Belichick has enough faith in him to put the offense in his hands in case something like that did happen. If this question's been going around all kinds of sports talk, is Jimmy Garoppolo worth your first round pick? And I don't know if I could do that. I don't think that if I were the Browns, I don't think I'd be trading my first round pick. It's not, especially not the first one, but maybe the 12th pick. I might think about it a little bit more. But if I were the Bears, I wouldn't be trading their first round pick. I don't think that is the way to do it, especially with his contract expiring after next year. Then you have to pay him all this extra money where you could end up just drafting a full-on rookie and having them under their rookie contract for a few years. So I would not be trying to acquire Garoppolo. I think the hype is too big on him right now. I think that's going to inflate his price a little bit. And if he does not end up going anywhere this season, I think that might be the time to get him because his value will probably go down knowing that he's going to be playing behind Tom Brady for this year.
I have trouble believing he's not going to land somewhere this year. I have trouble believing that they won't get a trade done. I just feel like they're going to get it done. I agree. The price they have set might be a little too high, but it just feels like they're going to get that done.
You think they'll trade him for a first round? They'll end up getting a first round pick for him.
God, I don't know. if they do, I would imagine the other team might be able to negotiate some sort of swap where they get a future third or something.
I would also think that Garoppolo would have to agree to a contract extension before the deal is done. That would have to be something. You're not giving up a number one pick for a guy who's in the last year of a contract.
Right.
It's purely insane. So I expect the Browns to do that.
Yeah, I think the Browns make the most sense. You could see them giving the 33rd pick and maybe maybe something else like a third. I could see it coming down to something along those lines, and the Pats can really considering that. I could also see something like Look, to me, Houston makes the most sense still. I know the Osweiler's there. That's why to me it makes the most sense. I don't think they'll do it, but if you're talking they're the 22nd pick or something along those lines. So if you're talking that pick, they can get Garoppolo and they can pay him nothing for this year. His salary is going to be under $900,000, so you can sit Osweiler on the bench. It makes perfect financial sense. You sign Garoppolo to a deal that kicks in next year, and then you cut Osweiler. To me, he knows the system because it's a Bill O'Brien system that's similar to the one that's run in New England. So the verbiage should be the same. He should have an understanding of the offense pretty quickly. To me, that just makes the most sense, which is probably why it'll never happen. But I
hate agreeing with you, Kevin, because I'm sitting here thinking the exact same thing, and as you're saying it, you're like stealing the words from my head, and there's a lot of crap up there. So I'm amazed that you got the right ones. I just think that Houston has got to be looking back at what a colossal mistake that Osweiler signing has got to be the worst ones in recent history that I've seen by any team. So bad.
Well, it really doesn't matter where Garoppolo goes as far as the verbiage and all that stuff, because all he really has to do is check all the Patriots tapes of the other teams and get a head start.
Oh man, I'm
about to get fired.
Yeah, it was nice having you, Scott.
All right.
Now you're back in.
Can I throw a few more buy lows at you and see what you guys think?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, I also wrote down here Eddie Lacy.
Yeah, he was
free as can be if he gets in shape. Oh, were you? Oh, I thought we were about to move on, so I just wanted
No, Scott, fire away. No, I love it. Excellent.
Cordell Patterson. He's also basically free. He's explosive with the ball in his hands. If he goes to a team that can use him, or if the Vikings learn how to use him, if Shermer sets up something for him, he looked pretty good with Shermer late in the year.
Hey, Scott, what about if he goes to San Francisco and plays that Tyler Gabriel type of role?
Oh man, I'll take wide receivers with Kyle Shanahan all day. As soon I just kind of want them to get a quarterback.
Nice job, baby.
I wonder how cheap Doug Martin is. He's suspended. There's injury history. I think that Tampa Bay offense could be good if he stays there, and he doesn't have a lot of competition. Martavis Bryant, I wonder if the owners have gotten to the point where they're really starting to sour on him. And Adrian Peterson, try to buy him at age 37. I'm just kidding. I know he's 32.
32,
Going to be 33. Going to be 33 here, I think. Mm-hmm. I think people are almost willing to just give him up. And I think he's got another year or two of solid fantasy play left.
Where do you think he lands, Scott, in your opinion, as a Minnesota guy who's followed his career and a little bit more tuned in?
Well, do you guys happen to know what the Vegas odds are? And Vegas is pretty good with, they're usually pretty on about this stuff. But
I'm guessing the Giants, but I don't know what they are. I haven't seen the odds.
Kevin, Steve, you want to take a guess?
I would have guessed the Giants as well, but I'm sad that I haven't even tried to look. Honestly,
I would. A dark horse for me would be the Packers.
It is the Packers. The Packers are the Vegas odds-on favorites to land him. And it makes sense. I think Peterson that's not one of the teams Peterson listed as being interested in. The Giants are one of those teams, and I could definitely see him going there, especially after the Rashad James cut or whatever. But the Packers, I can see Peterson thinking to himself, I got a real legit shot at a Super Bowl here, So that would just be the last bell on a Hall of Fame career. So I could easily see that happening too.
Yeah, I can see that. One thing about Martavis Bryant, you mentioned him. I think his value was better earlier or towards the end of last season. I think it's starting to creep up a little bit now. I started to hear people talk about it. And, obviously it's the off season, so people are starting to think he's going to get reinstated. But I like the call there because if he does get reinstated, the guy's a stud. So we think he'll be a stud.
Yeah, I just want to throw some names out for your listeners to possibly, that that's a lot of people that they could potentially go after that I think would be all right.
Absolutely.
What about Isaiah Crowell? He's a restricted free agent, so I don't know if he gets away from Cleveland, but it's not a guy I ever cared for, but
he was a top 20 running back last year. I mean, maybe even top 15. I'm not a big Crowell guy myself.
He's only 24 years old. Yeah. He's young.
Oh, 24 to running back? Should retire.
While he can walk, you are right.
I'm just kidding. That's just shots at the ageist part of the Dynasty community.
I'm kind of surprised you're not a Crowell guy, Scott, being a big Devy guy. I mean, this was a guy that was highly touted in high school, highly touted in college. I mean,
that's why I wasn't even a big Crowell guy then. He had a problem where he tried to break everything outside and just outrun people, and I realized, he's adapted from that. He's learned, he's gotten better, but watching that and then watching him go to the I think it was the Under Armour All-American game, and then he did Georgia decently successfully, but that was his move, to just try to break outside and outrun people. And then he got to the NFL and I just never have been a huge Crowell fan.
Christine Michael, I heard, is going to be available. Does anyone want Christine Michael?
It was going to be my first drop now, get rid of now candidate.
Man. All right. So, do you guys have any other buy low guys? Sal, anything else?
Marcel Reese. Just kidding.
Right, Marcel Reese. All right. Let's move along here. Let's get some guys that you want to get rid of. Obviously, Christine Michael's a good one. Scott, who's the dead weight on your roster that you need to get rid of? That maybe you can get something for.
I don't think I went more along the lines of, I think that you can get a lot for them, more than possibly their future holds.
That's probably better.
Do you want me to list all? I wrote down 3. Do you want me to just list them, or just go with one and we'll move around?
Nah, go ahead. We'll go through your 3, and I'm sure they'll be better than what the other guys have. So.
All right.
Guaranteed.
Well, one was Ty Montgomery, who we talked about. Uh-huh. Another is DeMarco Murray, who's got over 1,000 touches in the last 3 years, and I think he could still be good this year. I just think we're starting to hit the top of that bell curve, where he might start to tail off. I know he's not super old, but Henry is there. I think that offense is going to be good. So I think you can sell an owner on him being really good for a contender for another year or two, and maybe get some really high picks if you're rebuilding. And Ty Hill, I'm just not a big Ty Hill fan, on and off the field.
Yeah.
On the field, he looks fun and explosive. He didn't have any huge games yardage wise last year. I could be wrong, but I don't even think he had a single 100-yard game. I think I'm right on that, but I could be wrong. And his TD rate, he had a ton of touchdowns, and he didn't get a lot of touches to get those touchdowns. He just kept hitting long ones, and that's generally not sustainable.
Yeah, I think you make a great point on DeMarco Murray, because, looking at his value right now after the season that he just came off of, you think it probably is going to be a lot higher right now than if you were to go through another season, potentially have another good season, but I don't think that it'll be as good as the one he just had, and it's just another year closer to Derrick Henry taking over and him possibly having to move on to another team. So looking at his value this year going into 2017 as opposed to the following season, I think you're right on that, and definitely agree with Tyreek Hill, although he's somebody that I'm going to be keeping in FLAFFL as a 16th round keeper. I do think that he is somebody that is definitely looking at a little bit of a regression there because of all the touchdowns, the big plays, all that kind of stuff can tend to be a little bit fluky. So I definitely agree with you on those guys.
It's all about hype, too. There are people in leagues that want these players, and if you're at all sour, their upside is something you could sell.
Yeah, I agree. You are right. Not a single 100-yard game. Obviously, all-purpose yards. He's well over that on several games. But not a single 100-yard game for Tyreek Hill, and he's a guy that he's definitely one of those guys. Obviously, whatever your beliefs are for on and off the field stuff, I'll never have him on my roster for the off-field stuff. I don't like those guys on my team, but beyond that, I think I completely agree with you. The touchdown dependency and the overall, just the gadgety, aspect of him. I don't think it's consistent. I don't think you can count on it. So I agree.
You know what I love about being on Skype and being able to see you guys, not realizing the amount of time Sal spends looking at his phone while the show is on. And the fact
Terrible.
The fact that he doesn't like he holds the phone to the Skype camera so that everyone knows that he's
not paying
He's not paying
attention.
attention to what you say.
So I'm going to turn my phone in front of you guys and show you what I'm looking at. It's a list of free agents.
Yeah.
So,
okay.
White screen.
Yeah, you have to realize that he has no other technology. So he's literally doing show research.
Well, I'm on my computer. And I've done plenty of show research in the past, not tonight. But so, Kev, the name I'm going to throw out to you is the number one guy. If I owned him, that I'm trying to get rid of right now, and his name is Rob Gronkowski.
Fair enough.
Because I think you could pull down a boatload for him. And I, not that his career is over or he's far from being a stud player, but you saw what happened with him last year, and you saw that other guys are starting to ascend, Kelsey, guys like that. I think you could get cheaper tight ends and really get good value back for a guy like Rob Gronkowski.
So I'm obviously.
What are you looking for? Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, that's okay. I'm obviously going to disagree with you, but not because he's a Patriot and not because he's Rob Gronkowski. I actually love the idea. I wouldn't do it now. I would wait a little bit because, for free agency, because I think Martellus Bennett's going to test the market. I think he's going to end up on a different team because I don't think the Patriots are going to pay for it. So now you're looking at Rob Gronkowski as the only tight end option, particularly if it's before the draft and they go out and draft someone. So I think that might be your sweet spot for trying to trade a Gronk. You know, also, he's still not far removed from not finishing a season. So you got to understand that, or think that people are still down on him right now. It might even be better to wait for him to come back this season and play a couple games if you're looking to trade him to maximize your value. That's just my personal thoughts.
Remember that story that I saw? The Patriots are going to trade him before they even won a Super Bowl.
I told
his
you.
ADP is at an all-time low right now too.
Yeah, I told you it won't happen. They won't trade him this year. It'll be next year that they move on from him if they're going to. So
I could guarantee you there's someone in your league that will overpay for him right now. Everybody's got someone in their league that will.
I'm just trying to think of what you would do. Like, I'm trying to think of the tight end that you'd probably trade him for a tight end and something else, right? Just to replace him,
right?
Because I'm assuming a lot of Gronk owners don't have that second tight end. I feel like a lot of Gronk owners love that positional advantage, and they felt like they could just slough off a tight end behind him. So I don't know what you going for. Maybe Eifert in a pick or Jordan Reed in a pick. I mean,
if you handcuffed him with a
injury risk,
if you handcuffed him with Bennett, you wait on it, you might be able to trade him. You know, if you think Bennett's going to be a starter next year for your team, you might be able to trade him without trying to get a tight end back. But you're right, Scott. I mean, other than that,
you got my favorite guy, Zach Ertz.
I was just gonna say him too. Yeah, Ertz and something would not be bad. And I'm not really trading Gronk, but yeah, I get that.
What about this name, Terrell Pryor?
I like him.
You want to trade him?
Comes back. I'm asking you guys. Is somebody you would maybe move now that you could get? Maybe his value is as high as it's going to be right now coming off that season. Do you think he's going to continue to be that type of a threat in that Cleveland offense?
Well, he did tail off down then, but I think that I think the offense is probably going to be a little better and the quarterback play will be better. But I said to someone last year, and I think I even tweeted about this. I said to someone last year, can't remember who it was, but it was in person. It was a guy at work, I think. I said the quarterback play for Terrell Pryor can't get worse, and then he said DeAndre Hopkins. That's what we said about DeAndre Hopkins. So you never know.
Yeah.
I want to touch on the Gronk thing. I actually got offered Gronk or Alshon Jeffrey straight up for Gronk this last week, so I suppose you can get some decent value.
Alshon Jeffrey was actually going to be the guy that I was going to suggest maybe trying to sell because, you know, the season that he just went off of, it was the first season that he actually didn't miss a game because of any injuries. He did miss those games because he got suspended for the PEDs, but he didn't miss any games because of an injury, which is not very common for him. He usually misses at least a game or two, and he seemed to be pretty good, seemed to produce pretty well down the stretch, the last few games that he actually did end up playing. So it's not certain that he's going to end up back in Chicago. So the situation is definitely going to play a little bit of a part into that. But he's somebody that I was thinking that maybe you could probably get some good value for if you weren't feeling comfortable with him moving forward either.
Yeah.
Well,
I feel
one
like
more
people are
guy.
trying to sell him.
So I'm sorry, Scott. One more guy I'll throw out. You might even think of him as a buy low candidate. For me, I'm probably moving on from him as a Raider fan, and that's Latavius Murray. He's not going to be back in Oakland next year. I see he's working out with Carson Wentz. I see he's, speculating with the Eagles, but what goes on with running backs in Philadelphia. Do you think Latavius Murray, and last year was very touchdown dependent, his stats were touchdown dependent. Do you think he's a guy you'd be buying right now or selling?
So just be honest, Sal. You want to get rid of Latavius Murray because he's dead to you for leaving your team.
You're dead to me.
Yeah, so listen, for me, Latavius Murray, I think you can move on from him if you find that Latavius Murray truther in your league, because there's one out there. I think he's another one of those guys that some people just really like, and they expect him to go to another team and tear it up, and he might. I mean, he could tear it up in another team. I don't particularly love him. I don't think he's anything particularly special, so I think it'd have to be the perfect situation for him to land in order for me to be really intrigued. But I would sell him.
I got a situation I would not. I've heard him rumored to the Vikings, and that our O-line is terrible.
Yeah.
What are the Vikings going to do next year with Jerick McKinnon?
It's going to be McKinnon. McKinnon did really well down the stretch, and I think people are missing that. You can look that up and take a look how he did down the stretch, or go watch. He looked really good down the stretch. So I think the Vikings are going to look to complement him and not replace him. We may look later to replace him, and who knows? The compliment we get might end up replacing him. But I think McKinnon's going to start out with the job. I think Peterson's gone, obviously.
I think McKinnon just needed some consistent touches and given the opportunity to actually play the position instead of being subbed out so much.
Yep, I can completely agree with that.
All right,
Steve, ask about Jeremy Langford.
Hey Sal, how are you feeling about Jeremy Langford?
Oh, I don't know. How does Kevin feel about Jeremy Langford?
Yeah, I hate
So Kevin, I actually, in doing the protecting the players for the dispersal draft today, which you're going to be taking part in, I had a conundrum when it came to Jeremy Langford, because I think he's going to stay in Chicago and be the backup running back this year.
I agree.
But, if Jordan Howard was to stumble, sophomore slump, he could possibly get that job back. I wasn't sure if I was going to protect him or not protect him. In all honesty, is he a guy, and I'm not protecting him, so I'm just going to be honest with you, so he's available. Is he a guy you would grab onto in, say, a dispersal auction like that? And I won't go back and re-protect him. I already sent it in to John. So
yeah, look, I will say this: I don't think there's much value with Langford unless you have Howard. I would want him if I have Howard as a handcuff. Because
good news was I had Kadeem Carey and Langford and not Howard.
Nice. So you're that roster may be worse than the dispersal one that I was going to take over, but. Look, the assets that are going to be in that dispersal draft from the two teams that are being auctioned off is pretty abysmal. So he's a guy I might take a flyer on later because, again, like I said, he has value if Howard goes down. I think Howard has that job. I think Howard has the potential to be a top 10 back next year, and based on what I saw last year from him, and maybe you see Langford get a little bit of work in a goal line stance or something along those lines, get some touchdowns, things like that. But overall, I don't think he's going to be used much unless Howard really busts, and I don't see that happening. So he's very low on my priority. But given what the assets that are out there in that league, it could happen. All right, so I think that does it for buy lows and sell highs. At least for today, we'll probably be going through these quite a bit. As we go through the off season and even more so as we get through free agency. But for now, I think that's it. And so Scott, you look like you're in pain. I know you've been you're a little overtired since Sal ended up showing up.
Wait, am I getting fired?
Yeah,
Am I legit getting fired on the air here?
On the air.
Yeah, this is weird.
Live. We're gonna let you go. Sorry. Yeah.
We've got a check on the way.
Now
It's not worth much.
Whoa! When did we start getting checks?
Well, we try to pay the talent, so
Yes.
I get that.
Yes.
Kevin and Steve get paid. I got paid.
Yeah.
Scott,
These guys keep sending me boxes of gushers.
That's it. Yeah, that's it. We send them candy, so that's it works out. Works out for everyone.
Oh, nice. All right, guys. Thanks for having me off. It's having me on. It's been a nice week. It's been a fun week and a half.
Yeah, it's definitely has. Thanks a lot, Scott. We appreciate you joining us.
All right, you guys have a great night.
All right, take care. All right, guys. So let's keep moving along here. We're about 45 minutes in. So we were gonna talk a little bit about rookie class. We were gonna talk a little bit about the Devies, but and maybe some MFL 10s and 25s. But since they're not started yet and we're running low on time, what do you guys want to do? You want to keep going, or you want to save some stuff for next week, Sal?
For the record, the pinned tweet on My Fantasy League's Twitter is that Monday the 27th is MFL 10 day, and they will be up and running.
Well, that's good to know. So maybe we should talk about them a little bit. So
I think we should talk about them next week, honestly, myself, when we get into some, because I'm sure we're going to start some.
All right,
good idea.
Well, that's fine. So here we go. You guys are seeing the behind-the-scenes disorganization of the podcast right now, and what we decided to do. Really,
we bring you inside.
It really just this whole day was thrown off because Sal, surprising us mid-show, and not to mention Scott having to leave, right at the end. So I think it's a good time.
Now that Scott's gone, Sal, I'm glad you're back. Glad you're back.
So to John Bosch, John, you reached out to me, and 95% of what I said to you was true. The 5% of me moving on and taking some time away, not true. I am here. I am staying with the show because my boys couldn't do it without me. And I don't mean that they couldn't do it well without me. I just mean that they'd be sad and they'd be whimpering each week. And that's not good for a podcast. And that's not good for anybody. And to Kareem, who, God bless this guy. He will walk out of an app. He'll walk out of an app for me. He'll turn off a podcast for me. This guy is one loyal dude, and I love you, buddy, and I appreciate, I just appreciate your loyalty and your appreciation for me. So much respect to you, Kareem, and you can now continue to listen to the show on a weekly basis.
I'm a little disappointed that he wasn't going to listen. I mean, we're his friends too. I mean, it
does
hurt a little.
I do feel that, we've been with Kareem for quite a while as well, and it's unfortunate to hear that he would stop listening only because you were gone. Very unfortunate. I agree, Kevin. I thought we were a little closer with
you put a spell on me.
Everyone's missed this.
Yeah, this is great. Look, so going forward, obviously Sal's going to be with us. We hope to have Scott back numerous times throughout the season, off season, and the season, because he's a great guest, a lot of fun, and he's better than Sal. So, but for now, let's just get to
good
some.
With that. I'm totally good with that.
Let's just wrap this up and get to some finishing thoughts. Sal, what do you got? Oh, no, we'll start with Steve. Sorry, didn't mean to go out of order.
Oh, man, I don't even know what to do now. All right, well, thank you, everybody, for listening to the Falafel House Fantasy Football Podcast. You can find us all over social media. Just search for Falafel House wherever you are looking there, and you are bound to find an account of ours somewhere. So go ahead and search for Falafel House. And if you are interested in writing for fantasy football, we are looking for writers for this upcoming season. So reach out to any one of us on Twitter. You can follow me at Sid Skeet. You can follow Kev at Wally Central. You can follow Sal at Lido Sal. And reach out to us and let us know. And we will definitely look into that and get that rolling for the upcoming season. Sal, what do you got to say?
Steve, did you say we're looking or lurking? Because that was odd.
Yeah, we don't lurk.
I'm just looking. I try not to do too much work.
Not work. Oh. He said lurking, like lurking.
Oh, lurking.
Yeah,
it sounded like you said we are lurking for writers.
I promise everyone next week we'll be back in sync. We'll get this together. It'll be a much better show.
So that was my distraction for the fact that I never have a finishing thought. So thank you. It's good to be back, guys. Great show last week. I did listen to it while laying in my bed in New Orleans, staring up at the ceiling. Just chilling out. So, Kev, wrap it up.
Awkward.
Spinning.
Awkward. Listen, I want to thank everyone for listening. Definitely want to thank Scott for joining us the last 2 weeks. It was a lot of fun having him on. We are glad you're back, Sal, and happy to have you here. Next week, we will get into some MFL 10s. We will get into some we're going to talk rookies, I swear. We're going to talk about this rookie class. So, guys, start studying because it's going to be all draft all the time coming up. We love reviews, so if you can get onto iTunes or wherever you get your podcast and leave us a review, that would definitely be appreciated. And until next week, which I believe we're gonna continue with the same days for a little while here, so we should have Thursday releases for a while. So next week we'll be back, and until then, Steve, hit the button.